Hello and welcome again to another one of my videos on the stuff that I have in my kit dungeon. This subject came as a kind of request, I think, I would put it that way, from one of my viewers, goes by the name of Windsor Spitfire. So I want to thank him for making the suggestion. He had been looking at my Matchbox Starfighter video, and he had mentioned that it might be better for me to talk about another Matchbox kit, and that kit is a Matchbox 172 scale Armstrong Whitworth Siskin 3A. I vaguely remembered that I had this kit. For the life of me, I couldn't remember where it was. So I spent yesterday actually digging through my stash, hunting through the room, and I managed to finally find it, along with a whole bunch of other Matchbox kits. So you have all been warned. So anyway, this is, I think I would say, one of the original boxings. It has a very nice bit of box art here, and it has that very classic look of Matchbox, and it also has that little story there on the side, right, where it says, above their base at North Weald, Siskins of number 29 Squadron brick formation, and then it becomes a little bit indistinct. It's supposed to be in November 1928. So and it also has this two-color kit on the side. So let's have a look at this kit box a little bit more. On the side here, you have that usual thing where you can see all the other kits on offer from Matchbox. You've got the Tempest, the Buffalo, or the B339, I suppose, the Thunderbolt, and the Messerschmitt Me262. I have to confess that I have built only that one. I think I have this one. I may have that one. But yeah. So that's what I have. And on the other side of the box, you will see a nice kind of like profile-ish sketch or drawing of the kit as it would look coming out of the box without painting, just with the decals. Okay, and it says so there on the side, right? Finished model with parts and decals as supplied, no painting necessary. So straight up, I mean, for youngsters who just want to build and decorate their model and then immediately play with it or something, you had that to look forward to. Okay, but for the rest of us, or the rest of the models at the time who were planning to do something else, then there you go. The two decal options which were available as supplied in this boxing. One is, of course, that number 29 Squadron Royal Air Force 1928, which was featured on the box art. And then the number 32 Squadron Royal Air Force in 1931. Roughly similar appearance. This is interwar aircraft, right? And I think this is really, really nice. It does bring back that that sense of the golden age of flight, right? Beautiful planes, very well maintained, shiny, basically. So that's what you will find. Yes, and of course, not forgetting that classic window. Okay. Where you can look in and you can see what you are going to get. I wonder whether, I mean, I suspect, I think that this is probably something to do with European regulations, which require you to disclose what it is you're selling. Something like, making sure that you're upfront. If you tell them that it's two colors, well, show them that it's got two colors and that sort of thing. Okay, so the quality of the plastic, everything, this was great fun because we would just, I would just go there here with my brothers and we would just be looking in at this and we're just saying, oh wow, that's what you get, and it's a very good selling point. Before I leave the box, I mean, you can see some water damage here. Okay, not from me, because I remember this came like this, and of course the Scotch tape has stained it here. No Scotch tape on this side. Well, yes, there's a bit here. Okay, so let's get on with it. Maybe I'll just squeeze that in so that we can get a better view of the parts as they come out. So I'm going to pop this open. Squeeze that here. Careful as possible. The box seems to be in pretty good shape, other than the water damage, the stains, right? Okay. I've never opened this, so I really don't know what is installed. So this is as much fun for me as it is for you. And if this video gets posted, that means, in other words, there was nothing horrible. Let me just pull this out. Okay, nothing left in the box. We put that aside. There. So this is what you would get. Let's look at the instruction sheet first. And the decal sheet. We'll put that aside first for the moment. Okay. So those are the parts. Instruction sheet folds out. It's a double fold, and it folds out into 3 pages. So the first step is pilot and the floor of the plane. Of course, I will have a lot of question marks about that seat. That cannot possibly be the seat of the Siskin. But then you do need a flat space for the pilot figure to sit in. That's the second part. Part 2 would be the fuselage halves going together. It's pretty fast, right? No instrument panel to speak of, so it just goes straight into that. Step 3, whilst that one is being set up, then you have the beginnings of the engine being assembled. Now let's have a quick look. Typical 1930s kind of aircraft, right? So you have the engine exposed, all the cylinders are there, no cowling. Would have looked good with the cowling, actually, to be honest. And then you have the collector ring, and then on the exhaust going up by the side. Okay, so that typical 1930s kind of aircraft looks very racy. So that's the beginnings of that. You have the collector ring being assembled there, and then you have the cylinders, the double bank of cylinders, and then that classic double-bladed prop, right? Two-bladed prop going on, and of course the classic Matchbox instructions telling you which bits you have to glue, and basically you have to glue kind of like everything. Maybe not the propeller and that propeller boss thing, but okay, fine. That's if you wanted to spin. Then we go back again to the fuselage, and you have a tiny bit of transparency there, I think, which I better look for carefully, because it better be there. And then the upper panel with the struts. I don't know whether you call them caban struts or something like that, but these are the struts which stick out from the fuselage and support the upper wing. Then you have the tailplane assembly with the rudder. Okay, pretty straightforward. And then you start with the exhaust pipe at this stage, right? What is this stage? Stage 7. You have the exhaust pipes being installed on either side, and then the lower wing, and then the V-struts. Okay. And then the upper wing being installed. So at this stage, it should be easy to mount this and get the correct angle. It's always important for when you're building a biplane, right, to make sure that the correct amount of stagger. And I think Matchbox engineering allows that to be done pretty well, because if you look back at this already provides a solid foundation, because the angles are all fixed already in the parts, molded on already, right? So that provides a very stable starting point. And then you have these V-struts, and if you've put them in the correct order, part 18, part 19 over here and part 20 over there, the correct amount of stagger should have already been done. Okay, I remember building World War I aircraft, and I remember it was a real struggle, especially if the struts are separate. That will really mess up your modeling. So then at stage 8, you've pretty much done everything already. The plane has taken shape. And the final stage, stage 9, is when you install the tail skid and then that fixed undercarriage, a radiator of sorts, I suppose, some kind of landing lamp, I think, and then the step for the pilot. And that's it. Fairly straightforward model. Okay, just have another look at that. Very nice. It does bring back memories. And then you have a whole list of all the other available models, right? Okay. Flip over to the other side, and you have some guidance on painting instructions. So they give you code letters, and they say down here, code letters A, B, C show on the color plan, and mini paint plans indicate the correct paint color from the Humbrol authentic range. So you basically could build a model without painting it and then just stick the decals on, or you could do some painting, or you could go the whole hog and paint the whole aircraft as per the back panel. Then you have guidance here on the mini paint plan, which is detailed parts which should be painted. Frankly, if you're going to do this, you might as well paint the whole thing, to be honest. Okay, and then you have that. So the front page of the instruction sheet is here, and there's a bit of history of the Siskin. Wow. So the Siskin served all the way until 1937, before they were declared obsolete, and then they were retired. So that's your instruction sheet. Let's put that aside there. And then let's look at the decal sheet. Now, so far my experience with opening up kits of this age is that Matchbox has somehow managed to make sure that their decals survive. They look quite bad with this protective sheet on, but if you manage to get the protective sheet off, right, which I'm trying to do now, which I can't do, you will find, as I have found, that the no, I'm not going to try that. You can see it through here actually. The whites in the markings never turn yellow, and they're always white, you know. Transparent film, the film around the decal, you can see from here immediately that that bit has turned yellow around the lettering. Okay, so yeah, although main parts seem to have survived, the roundels for sure are usable, I think, but the rest of it is probably not. And this is going to be against the silver background, so chances are you probably can't use this decal sheet anyway. And you probably have to use some kind of decal saving solution. But yeah, you know, the decal sheet was really nice. It is really nice. So let's put that aside. As I said, I've never opened this kit, so maybe I should have. I could have saved that, maybe, I don't know. But I think it was probably in that state even before I bought it. So this is the kit, right? And ooh, okay. It does not look like as if the transparency has come along with the kit, which is a bit sad. But not to worry, because transparencies can, especially these, can be scratch built. I just wish I didn't have to, but never mind. So here we have the first sprue, which is the upper wing, lower wing, and the rear tail planes, right? And then you have the these are the struts for the undercarriage. That's the collector ring for the exhaust. That's the pilot figure. Okay, and those are the legs for the undercarriage, the main undercarriage legs. Propeller with the propeller boss on it, and then that's the step for the pilot's foot, I think, which we saw just now, and that's the retaining ring for the propeller. PK25, made in England. Okay, so we'll put that aside. So let's look at this. That's the fuselage. That's the right-hand side or the starboard side. Pilot seat. Okay, that's the pilot seat. And then the floor, and then the tail. That's the upper piece above, just in front of the cockpit, right? That's one of the exhaust pipes, and that's the other one of the exhaust pipes. And these things run along the side of the plane. Those are the two banks of cylinders. That's that front bulkhead thing for the engine. Okay. And those are the struts I was mentioning. Again, I'm wondering whether they're called cabin struts. But you notice the angle has already been fitted for you. So if you get the modeling sequence right and you put the right numbered part into the right spot, you will get your correct amount of stagger. Okay, as a starting off point, that would be very good. Likewise for this, right? The wheels are very nice. With that slight cone shape. Captured very, very well. What is also captured very well is that fabric effect. You know, the fabric on rib or fabric on longeron kind of assembly. It's very, very nice. Very, you know, some people may say it's a bit too pronounced, but I don't think so. I think it's a nice detail to capture. And you can even see, if you look carefully, the thread. The thread has been recreated and it's raised. It's correct. That's very nice. Very, very nice. Some panel detail here. That's raised. What's not an issue for me. Nice. Let's have a look at the upper wing and lower wing again for the texture. For the ribs. I think, again, these work for me. Not too exaggerated. Couple of pin marks here, right? Which should not be too difficult to scrape away. That one will be hidden. No, this is fine. This is okay. So I think the only issue that I can find with the boxing that I have is, do I have... Ha! Ta-da! Transparency. Okay. This is basically... I don't know why it's so complicated, but that's it. That was all it was. It was basically a square piece of transparency which was meant to represent a kind of windscreen. You know, the kind of thing that you find on one of these 1930s, 1920s cars, like a Bentley. Let me see whether I can get that into focus for you in close in. Here we are. Okay, hoping it holds. There, see it? Very nice. Oh, that's such a relief. I thought the kit would not have all its parts, but it looks as if I was wrong. Thank you. And so there we have it. Let me just arrange all this. I'm so happy now. Let me arrange all this so that you can see this. You know. And thank you very much for joining me on this video. Thank you to Windsor Spitfire for suggesting this. I think it is a really nice kit. I have to agree. And it's also nice that you were here to share my joy in making sure that all the parts were here. I think it's great. It's always nice, right, to know that you bought a kit and it's old and it's out of production, and then it is fully complete. It wasn't like as if somebody was selling you something because they didn't really want it because not all the parts were there. Okay, so this is lovely. Thank you all for joining me, and as always, if you have any comments, suggestions, if you have some other stuff which you would like me to look at, to talk about, I'm sure I can find it. Chances are I probably have it in the room somewhere. And I will see you again for another one of my videos. Until then, stay safe with your modeling. Watch out for that knife blade, and be happy. Thank you, and I will see you soon.